Hello.
I'm Túy.
I'm Thăng.
I'm Mai.
And I'm Lung.
And today we are going to discuss about TPP and its impact on Vietnam. So firstly, I'm going to give you a brief introduction about TPP. TPP was originated from the Trans-Pacific Strategic Economic Partnership, also known as Pacific 4, which is signed by 4 countries, including Brunei, Chile, New Zealand, and Singapore. There are currently 12 countries participating in TPP, including both 4 countries as well as US, Mexico, Peru, Canada, Australia, Japan, and Malaysia, as well as Vietnam, who joined in 2015. On February 4th this year, the 12 members have signed off the TPP deal in New Zealand. There are 30 chapters in TPP, ranging from the elimination of tariff and non-tariff barriers to specific rules on various trade-related issues. And for the first time, it also addresses issues related to the development of regional production, as well as custom cooperation and standard. According to researchers, Vietnam is said to be the biggest winner. However, is TPP ideal for Vietnam, and is Vietnam ready to strike the benefits that TPP brings? To answer these questions, let's look at the current situation of Vietnam. So first of all, in terms of legal, TPP requires strict provision on environmental standards and intellectual property rights, which is quite challenging for Vietnam because of the weaknesses in its rule and regulation related to those areas. And secondly, in terms of government structure, the state procedures is very complex and overlapping, which creates loopholes leading to the misuse of power from government staff and corruption. Remarkably, Vietnam is ranked 112 out of 168 countries in terms of corruption index. Thirdly, in terms of economic structures, at present, Vietnam is only at the threshold of the market economy. SOE account for 1/3 of the country's GDP. However, they are frequently mismanaged and involve unfair competitions because they account for most of Vietnam's non-performing loans. This is quite a challenge because TPP requires its members to lean forward a market economy and reduce government intervention.
Besides those macro-environmental issues, there are other micro-environmental issues in Vietnamese enterprises which hinders their competitiveness in TPP trade battle. Firstly, Vietnamese producers have weak capacity to remote trade, heavy reliance on imported material, and cannot afford to environmental protection costs. And so they have to struggle a lot to comply with TPP rules of origin, environment, labor, and intellectual property. For example, in the textile industry, Vietnam have to face real challenge with TPP yarn forward rule because most Vietnam's local firms use Chinese fabric, which is outside the TPP list of trade partners. Secondly, Vietnamese labor productivity is 8 to 15 times lower than other ASEAN countries. They lack the latest knowledge, technical skill, foreign language skills, and creativity. This results in small number of high technology FDI projects in Vietnam. And more than that, 90% of SMEs in Vietnam use outdated technology, causing low productivity and pollution, while little investment is done in the country to innovative technologies. And sadly, Vietnamese enterprises have poor attitude towards TPP because only 30% of them know about TPP. This is because SMEs in Vietnam are not financially capable to information and make preparation, as well as they're not interested because they think TPP would not directly affect them. And finally, Vietnam has not achieved outstanding results from all the previous free trade agreements because Vietnamese firms only take advantage of 30% of the benefit from these free trade agreements. And so their growth is still low with high reduction costs and have low position in the global value chains. So due to the weakness, Vietnam is not ready to take up the challenge brought by TPP. However, these are inevitable for Vietnam for future global integrations. So TPP will be a motivation for Vietnam to overcome its current adversity and transform itself for future opportunities.
More importantly, the opportunities brought by TPP will outweigh the drawbacks. And now let me tell you more clearly about the economic, legal, and social benefits that Vietnam can gain. In terms of economy, TPP will help Vietnam to boost export and attract more FDI inflows thanks to the reduction in tariff. Moreover, the local producers will also enjoy higher profits because they can import the components from overseas with cheaper price, and they will also receive support in technology and management. And now let me give you some examples of the main industries in Vietnam. For instance, the Vietnamese textile, garment and footwear industries will witness export growth rate of more than 40% in 2020. Woodwork industry can also more widely and deeply penetrate into big markets like the US, Japan, Canada and Australia that account for 60% of Vietnam's total woodwork export. Moreover, the local firms like car industry will also enjoy higher benefits because they can import the components and materials from overseas with cheaper price. Regarding agriculture and seafood, Vietnam will have more competitive advantages than other non-TPP countries that export the same products. On the other hand, the great competition from other TPP countries on some products will force the Vietnamese farmers to focus more on the product quality and hygiene. Additionally, thanks to more effective immigration procedures, international tourists can travel to and from Vietnam more easily, which will help to enhance the development of Vietnamese tourism. Nowadays, the e-commerce in Vietnam still face many problems such as the leak of users' information and also the undeveloped internet infrastructure. Then TPP will help Vietnam to enhance the viability of the digital economy by ensuring the free flow of data across borders and also the protection of users' information. And finally, TPP will also help Vietnam to develop the logistics sectors by attracting more investment into large warehouse, bringing new supply chains, and also bringing chance to develop more logistic infrastructures thanks to the geographical and political advantages.
In terms of legal and the government system, TPP will bring about a more effective government, the reduction and privatization in the number of SOEs in Vietnam. Not only that, higher standards on intellectual property protection and the penalties for infringements of intellectual property will provide businesses stronger incentives to invest in the creative industry that Vietnam really has a lot of potential in. In terms of social impact, participation in TPP will help significantly create more jobs for people, increase their income and reduce poverty. Economic growth also helps us have more resources to improve the quality of our human resource and the community healthcare. The consumers will also have more opportunities to buy imported products at cheaper prices and of the best qualities thanks to reduction and the removal of tariffs. For the environment, TPP requires the strict compliance with international environmental standards in any type of business. Therefore, TPP helps accelerate sustainable development in the economy. In terms of labor rights, TPP provides the strongest protection for workers in any trade agreement in history, especially in Vietnam, now that the government has to pay more attention to the workers' rights and allow for independent unions and confederations in the regions. So, in conclusion, based on our research and analysis, it is safe to say that Vietnam is not ready for TPP because it still has many weaknesses that prevent it from taking full advantage of TPP. However, we have learned that unless there is a motivation, it is hard for us to make a step forward. So it is necessary for Vietnam to join TPP, realize its weakness, improve itself, and do not fall behind from other countries.